employees call and say, I thought it was closer than this. Well, and I even looked at mine, nowhere near to being close to the deductible, but I thought, wait a minute, I think I had a few more, claims than that. So that was a load off of our plate, we hope. Of course, we're still open, if an employee says, hey, I thought I was closer than that. Yeah, we'll still look into it. That's not a problem. But for it to go 4 months, we did ask for a little longer time frame because we wanted to make sure that we collected as much information as possible. We didn't want to short any of our members, but we really didn't think it would take 4 months. So anyway, it's almost a moot point to ask them, what the heck happened? So, we're happy that we have it. So there's that. Just in case anyone gets any phone calls, you guys get any phone calls, wanted you to be aware that they're taking care of that. They have taken care of that. So, and I really love the way they track things and they're keeping up on any of the issues that employees have. So we haven't had too many. Actually, it was a very short phone call last time, so that's a good thing. Let's talk a little bit about recruiting, what we have going on. I know Chris Gaumer will be in this morning, and he will tell you the same thing, but we had a separation last week with his part-time secretary, so that's always been a difficult position to fill. As you can imagine, when the BZA meets, when the Plan Commission meets, and then we added the last couple times that we needed to fill it. And, we added a few more hours in the office, which really helps because of taking care of lunch, and trying to keep it as close as, to those out of the normal workday meeting times as we possibly could. Chris and I are going to talk about it to see, alrighty, what can we do? When he came on board, shortly, let's see, he's coming up probably on his 6-year anniversary. He had 2 full-time employees. Now he's down to 1 and half when it comes to clerical, manning the office. So that may be something to consider, but making this position a little more flexible to make sure that they hit the meetings, the before normal work hours and the after work hours. Something to think about. Something for you to maybe discuss with him when he comes in. So anyway, we really haven't had a chance to look over the last posting we had, but we try to think outside the box. We try to think creatively, and and I told him we've had some really good luck lately recruiting full-time administrative assistant types, the clericals, but I don't know about this weird one. We've always had an issue trying to fill that one. So something for you to discuss with him.
Dottie, I had 2 names that came to my mind off the top of my head, and I have no idea about their availability, but one is Sandy, who used to be working for Circuit Court. Trying to remember what her last name is, but she retired out of Circuit Court, and then she worked for Zach Leitner for a while, and then I think Zach doesn't have anybody.
Right.
Last I heard. Yes, Sandy Deerdorf.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if she'd be interested because it's a part-time thing. Or maybe Julie Patterson, who used to be a court reporter that was active here.
I know Julie, yeah.
Yeah. So those were just 2 names I thought that could just step right in and handle something like that easily.
Thank you. All righty. Great.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah. Good. See, it's all about networking. First of all, networking, but you got to know how to do the job. So, thank you. Let us see, what else? Community corrections. we really have the posting for residential facilitators back out there. They have, I think, 3 openings. Change Academy, the head of that division, we have hired someone. My take is that that person is supposed to start maybe next week. So that would be great to get that one moving. Central Communications, we have 4 interviews set for this Wednesday, and they have 2 openings, so that gives them pretty good. We had really 8 individuals who jumped through all the hoops and filled out all the paperwork and provided us with things, but due to testing scores and sit-alongs, things like that, they have chosen this 4. The Extension Office has hired someone. It's an unknown start date, but I'm thinking it'll probably be the end of this month, maybe early December. So not ready to name a name there. The Health Department, we have our school liaison / community RN position open until November the 22nd. And then that's because they had a 30-day requirement to have that out there. From my standpoint, it looks like she has some really good candidates from which to choose.
Really?
So, yep, I know that'll be really nice to get that one started and kind of right off since January is when the money starts rolling in, so pretty good. The sheriff's office asked me to reopen the confinement officers. They had one, they weren't really happy with the last batch of applications that they received, so they asked me to, yep, keep it open. Highway Department, of course, we have that one reopened. We'll just see what happens. Sunny Meadows, and Bill, I do believe you had a conversation with Angela this week.
I did.
3 openings out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, one is an illness that we're not sure that the one is going to come back to work.
Yeah.
So, and Angela is working a lot herself, filling in those hours that she can. So, running her a little ragged. I hope she communicated honestly with you.
Yeah, she did. We had a good conversation, and she made note that she's not had a chance to take any extended time off, no vacation time. She did take a long weekend. She's working with an employee to try to get her to the point where she can take her place for a week, so she can take a vacation. But it's a work in progress. She says if it doesn't work out by the end of the year, she's going to go another direction with that. But so it's, and she's putting in a lot of hours and still doing, So if she's a little behind on some of her.
The work that she is supposed to be doing, what is on her job description, she's doing the things that are the immediate.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have a resident sitting out there needing something when, I'm sorry, I'm working on my book work. You take care of those immediate needs, those issues right then. So
I think she said she did have an applicant that sounded pretty good, or possibly maybe. So we'll see.
Yep. So I think that one is being run through the background check right now.
Is it?
We're keeping our fingers crossed. Yes, that's great. Probation Department has 2 openings, a second probation officer assistant, and then their support staff person. Those postings don't fall off until November the 29th. So, and I'll tell you, we've gotten a boatload of resumes for both of those positions. Now, if you can imagine, the POA is somebody who assists the public or the probation officers directly and does a lot of the drug screens. And remember, those are observable drug screens. So you have to find just the right person who is willing to observe. Anyway, so, yeah, so they're hoping to fill those very quickly in December. So that is great. The Safety Committee met last week. It was really a good meeting. Mostly we talked about drugs, Narcan. The Health Department now has a box outside of on their building, outside of their office, and they did notice that one of the canisters was missing. So they're hoping that somebody has, they used it, or they're holding it in reserve for a situation that they know is going to happen, or whatever the situation is. That's why they're there. They're not necessarily there for our employees. However, if we needed to use one on an employee, we could certainly use it. But we talked about the opportunities. Insurance Trustees was there, and they are checking with our insurance company, not the work comp carrier, but the liability people. What is our liability to keeping a canister in a first aid kit in every building, having one? The sheriff's office, of course, has theirs, community correction, but, our other buildings and, used for whatever. We can't just assume that all of our employees are, drug-free. Anyway, so we discussed that quite a bit. We discussed our mod rating, which is looking better and better all the time. The insurance company will be very happy. It kind of, because there's a lag time, next year's will be better. If we knock wood, we take care of everything as we have been. It'll keep going down, which means that our prices, our premiums will go down. So keeping, our fingers crossed for that. Hopefully part of doing that is the sheriff met with the law enforcement representative from IPEP to just meet. And the rep has a feel now for our facility, where some of our claims are coming from, and how we can try to work on not having those claims, if it's at all possible. Hard when you have, prisoners who really don't care about being there, don't care. So, you just have situations like that. So, in this last month, well, as of December 31st, we had 2 of our claims that were closed, which was great. We still have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we still have 6 claims that are open this year, or this month. One of them is that $275,000 claim that they have kept it open because there may be some issues with the shoulder. That one was from October of 2020. So that's been hanging on for a while. The most recent one, actually we have 5. No, we have 7, because the highway department had an issue with a log and a mouse smush and things like that. So anyway, taking care of that employee who may have to see a dentist because of the cracked teeth. So it could, yeah, exactly. I know it sounds terrible. And initially it was written up as a record only. And, but the person had, we had sent them to the Ock Health Clinic, and now, it's the teeth thing. So that could be a little ways taking care of that, I'm afraid. So it is what it is. That's why we have safety training. That's why and the person was doing the safety stuff that they should, but accidents happen. So, and something I had asked for I had sent last week a marketing thing on our EAP, the Employee Assistance Program. And especially this time of year, people get, depressed, and, families get together, and there are all these, family things, let alone end of the year stress of work, so there's just a bunch of it. So I thought it was a good time to send out a reminder. And then previous to that, I had asked our EAP, the standard, if they would give me an aggregate report of, since we started with them July 1, how many of our members have availed themselves of the service. And I did receive a report on Friday. We have had one employee utilize it. So it appears that, people have reasons for not, but we will continue to promote this free confidential service to all of our employees. I mean, it's, 3 free sessions, and they can do a referral. Some people just have situational things. They just need to talk to somebody who doesn't have a dog in the fight, as I like to say, and they just need that impartial person to get things off their chest and maybe work through some things. It's free, it's easy. You don't have to make an appointment, which is so difficult with mental health these days. It was interesting hearing comments in the news about Rosalind Carter, and that was a focus for her, mental health. Think about that, how long ago that was, and we're still dealing with that. We have, there's a dearth of professionals, and, an employee can call, and the appointment isn't for, 3 weeks down the road. The problem is right now, you can't sit on it. It's just the state of what we have, in this area. And so you can do this, telephonically, and you don't and you can get it almost immediate. So it's, so I see we do have to do some more marketing, some more notice, let people know that. So anyway, hopefully most of the performance evaluations have been done and are passed on to either Susan, payroll, or myself, and with you guys. We still have a few of our departments who are still need to send a little reminder. Probably will remind them the end of this week. Don't forget, and so that the employees can receive their changed wages for next year. Anyway, that is pretty much what I had on my my agenda, except that our next department heads meeting will be December the 6th. And that will be at 8 o'clock in the basement of the 9th Street Annex. And speaking of the 9th Street Annex, I did speak to one of the employees, supervisors, crew leader, whatever, who was working on the City Hall. And yep, they are looking at the end of this month to have that project finished. So it's about what they thought. So anyway, we've been dealing with it, in our building.
Yeah.
Be done today.
Yes, that would be great. Of course, there's nobody working on it right now, but that's okay. It happens. But there's an awful lot of stuff in the dumpster, so that means that they've really taken off a lot of stuff off of that roof. So, yeah. Anyway, that is what I have. What do you guys have for me?
Anything for Dottie, Todd, Mike? Nope. Andrew, Susan? Hey.
Great. All right, well, you know where I live, so
Go.
come
Have a
on
good-
over if you need anything.
Have a good week, Dottie.
All right.
Okay. Let's jump over into payroll.
We don't have payroll this week. I just didn't take it off.
Okay.
I know.
We got any claims?
Bad girl, bad girl.
Any claims? I didn't see any. Wait, yeah, we did.
Yes.
Was it,
Yeah.
Ron?
Yeah,
I
Leanne
did. I'll
sent.
take that back.
And I'll move to approve them.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and second to approve claims. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Claims are approved. Minutes. Get a chance to read the minutes.
Did, but I wasn't here, so
You can't.
abstain.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll move to approve them.
And I will second them, yes. So we have a motion and second on the minutes. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Todd is abstaining. Okay, 2024 attorney fee agreement.
Attorney fee agreement with Andrew.
I thought it was very well written.
I think it's pretty similar to last year's.
Short and sweet.
There you go.
How I like it.
Any problems with the have you read it?
Motion to approve the attorney agreement for 2024.
Second.
A motion is second on the floor. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity to work for you and for the county. So,
Okay.
good work.
We're glad to have you on board. Susan says yes, too.
Yes. We've covered a lot of ground this year.
Indeed.
Okay. What do we got there?
I updated those December dates for the meeting.
We need a motion on this 2024
Meeting schedule.
meeting schedule.
I'll move to approve the proposed 2024 meeting schedule as amended and fixed.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any additional comments? We'll make one comment to the public. We have decided to go to a every other week meeting instead of every week. We seem like we've cut our meetings quite back time-wise, and with the option of calling any additional meetings in between that as needed, so. Okay, we had a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same? Good? Okay. Miscellaneous topics. Anything else, Susan?
Do we have any more information about that bridge thing, the old bridge? Okay.
No.
I'll keep carrying it. And let's see, in October, last month, about a month ago, the Early Learning Coalition came in and they talked about, they did their presentation with Bob Kraft, CEO, and they were requesting, the chamber was asking for $50,000 a year from the ARPA funds to help them get their program their tri-share program launched. Have we decided whether we're doing that or not?
I'm not sure how I need to know their plan a little more and how they early learning or care for kids. There is a need. The why is over. I mean, you can't get childcare right now, period. So I don't know how hiring a position, though. I need to hear more about it. We talked about it in economic development also. It has some merit. I'm not exactly sure how.
I would suggest that you maybe meet with Ally and let her give you a little more detailed.
Yeah, I need to hear more.
Because without somebody doing the recruiting and so forth, you end up exactly where you are now.
But recoup for what is, the question is, we need more seats for kids to be able to sit in.
We need more providers.
Providers,
first.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And how do you get providers? The cost is what it is, unless there's grant money that they can write and get in. But how long does that take? What does it cost for a director? What is this total cost? I'm not sure. I need to see a better plan, and I probably should talk to her.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that would be helpful for you.
There comes a time too where we have to wonder. A customer, matter of fact, his daughter worked for economic development, Sabrina. Her dad stayed home to raise the kids because it was more expensive for him to not, if he would have went to work, they would have went backwards on what it cost to raise the kids. And his kids got a better upbringing now. Not everyone can do that. There's single moms, single dads, but we might have to re-educate people on, give other options on families, working together to support the kids. And I'm more concerned about the single parents that have nowhere to go with their kids.
That's the real critical.
That's the one that's
critical
critical.
need.
And I think it's more of that point, it becomes a social program. A lot of families out there that one family member could stay home if they got their lifestyle back.
Yeah.
But the single parents where I'm really concerned, these are the kids that need the help. So how that works out I just don't fully understand the program yet. But I will talk to her.
Yeah.
I have a concern about county government getting involved in child care, because once you start, it's a usually a never-ending situation that you just can't hardly get out of. I think there needs to be more volunteerism, maybe churches involved in this sort of thing rather than the county. I see it as more volunteer or businesses and churches.
Yeah. Well, and that's partly where the tri-share program comes in, which is, they're doing a pilot in Noble County on the tri-share, which is a coalition with businesses that invest in then the parents in the county.
And I've seen some businesses where the business actually sets up the child care.
Yeah.
People bring their kids to work. And boy, would that be something that if could be worked out. You go to work, your child comes with you, and you take them home with you.
Well, and travel-wise, that'd be so handy. Instead of
Yeah.
going this way 10 miles to drop your kid off and then that 10 to 20 miles to work, you just do one trip, you're one and done, and when you're done working, you pick up your child and go home.
But I mean, it's literally $300 a week you're going to spend to have your child watch somewhere, which is a deal if you really think about it. I wouldn't watch someone's child for $300. The liability and but that's still that's a huge chunk of someone's salary, especially if they're just part-time or close to that minimum wage. They can't afford it.
And it's been kind of established that the second income mostly pays for child care and taxes
That's what I'm saying.
and additional travel.
And wear and tear on the vehicle, gas,
Yeah.
like I said, there's other options, but for the single
The single
parent,
family, yeah.
they have no way
the
out.
options are not
They're
very good.
they're very limited, but for dual family, they can maybe make a change to their lifestyle, possibly. So,
Okay.
I got some extra room in Susan's office.
yeah.
Bring them.
She likes kids. Bring
I
them in.
love kids.
Okay, well, we are at the 9 o'clock hour, so we're ready to dig into the Okra second public hearing. And what do we got, Susan? What do we need to go with from here? I know we need to do at least a first vote on this thing.
So we'll open the hearing because it's 9, then they can do their explanation, then we'll close it, and then we can vote.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Good, good.
So, again, I'm Chris Harrison with Commonwealth Engineers. I'm here today for the DeKalb County, St. Joe, Spencerville Regional Sewer District second public hearing for the Okra application. With me today is Mike Kleinpeter and Natalie Schilling. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mike.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Kleinpeter Consulting. I also have Melissa Norby from our office here as well. Notice for this public hearing was posted in the Star on November 7th. This is our second required public hearing to discuss the county's application for grant funding through the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs. The county will be the lead applicant for this grant and is applying on behalf of the St. Joe Spencerville Regional Sewer District. We are applying specifically for a wastewater grant in the amount of $700,000 and will be contributing $2,895,000 in matching funds. These matching funds will consist of an SRF loan of $2,829,000 from the St. Joe Spencerville Regional Sewer District and $66,000 of wastewater operating funds. Our application is due on December 22nd. We want to make sure that citizens are fully informed and have an opportunity to ask any questions or voice support for the projects. Funds available through the Okra program are limited and applications are very competitive. We submitted a proposal on October 20th and had a site visit with Okra back on November 14th. Ms. Sleeper and Mr. Hartman were present at that meeting. I thought all in all it went pretty well. A couple little minor paperwork issues they need cleaned up, like a resolution passed here tonight, but all in all we've gotten a lot of the documents needed to submit, so we're kind of coasting into the finish line here. After all the applications are submitted to Okra, they score them, rank them from highest to lowest, and start going until funding runs out. We have to be over 450 points to be eligible for funding. Based on the score sheet we went through at that meeting, we think we will be well over 450 points. The question is, will we be high enough? So with that, I'll turn it over to Natalie to talk a little bit about the project.
Good morning. I'm Natalie Schelling with Commonwealth Engineers. I'm going to briefly discuss the proposed project and the project need. So this project is needed in order to remedy issues with the existing wastewater treatment plant. The plant consists of several steel tanks and steel grating that are access platforms, and these steel components are severely corroded. It's a hazard for staff to perform maintenance on the existing processes, and one of the walls of one of the existing tanks has actually already collapsed and had to be replaced with a concrete wall. So in addition to that, the existing components are just reaching the end of their existing useful life. So there is a big need here, as wastewater treatment is extremely important for the environment and human health. So the proposed project is going to be a replication of the existing extended aeration system. This will involve new concrete tanks and new aeration equipment. There will also be a packaged headworks system, which will help to remove grit and other large objects prior to getting to the main part of the process. The reason we are going with this option as opposed to others we evaluated is that it's the same sort of process that the operators already utilize, so they are very familiar with it and know exactly what they want and need. It is also the least cost option that we have evaluated, so we feel that this option will be the best in regards to moving forward. So are there any questions on the proposed project or the need for the project?
Responsible for the $2.8 million.
The Regional Sewer District signs that loan.
Okay, the regional sewer district. And the regional sewer district is what? Is a private entity district or?
Probably wants to do that. I don't know how you're set up exactly.
Which government entity owns it though?
Wait a minute. We need to get her up.
Be on the record.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Robin McCann. I'm the clerk for the St. Joe Spencerville Regional Sewer District. We were formed by the state of Indiana. We are a municipality and we're governed by the State Board of Accounts. And yeah, so we are a government
You're not
entity.
a private sewer district?
No, we are
Okay,
not
good.
private.
Right. All right, great.
Uh-huh.
Clarification.
So Natalie, before you step away, one question we had during our discussion with Okra is, we talked about the wall collapsing, and what are the impact to residents if we don't do the project? Eventually, the plant will not function correctly. Is that a safe to assume, or?
That's correct. And in addition to the maintenance issues with the existing plant, the sewer district has also received a new contaminant limit for zinc, which they currently do not have facilities to remove down to the permit limits. So they're required to do something to be able to meet that limit in the future, separate from the issues with the existing system.
How old is that existing plant?
I believe the initial system was installed in the early 1990s, and then they installed a second treatment train in 2002, I want to say. So 20 to 30 years old, depending on the portion of the plant you're looking at.
Is that a normal lifespan for?
It's pretty typical. You're going to get a lot more life out of concrete tanks. And if this system had been concrete, it's possible that they would just simply need to replace the equipment within the tanks. But since the tanks themselves are so degraded, there's nothing that can really be done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to wrap up our Okra grant, there is some paperwork that I need to get signed after the public hearing.
Okay. Anything else? All righty. And we will close the public hearing. And,
I think there is a public comment out here, though, whenever you're ready.
oh, sure.
So I do have a letter from the licensed operator, Todd Sadison. And basically, I'll read this aloud. I am writing this letter to support the reconstruction of the St. Joe Spencerville Regional Sewer District wastewater treatment plant with growing concerns of failure of the aeration and secondary tanks and the new zinc limits with the compliance plan for this permit term. I believe it is the most prudent and importance for the longevity of the plant for this upgrade. I'm currently the operator in charge and have noticed an uptick in repairs needed and know that those will only increase over time. We are confident with the compliance plan and the direction provided by Commonwealth Engineers and hope you will consider the RSD for funding. On a personal note, I've been in wastewater utilities for over 35 years. This facility is past its useful life. We've had one major failure with one of the tank walls, to the point that the hydraulic loading, if one of these tanks had to be taken down for repair, I would be concerned that there would be a permanent failure on the facility, let alone the safety of the operators that are working at the treatment plant. With that, do we have any other comments? Robin, Harry?
Good morning. First, I want to thank the commissioners for working with us and making this a feasible project for us to do. And we've talked about the plant and the failure and the safety and all of that. There's another side of this whole thing. We service a very small rural community, which consists of many people who are on fixed or low income budgets. I work on a regular basis with some of those people who they struggle on regular good days, but when life throws those hiccups like their vehicle needs repaired, or their furnace went out, or an appliance needs fixed or replaced. Then they get behind in their sewer bill, which is not a good deal. And so they come to me and we work to make a budget so we can all be happy and they get their bills caught up. So this OKRA funding is very, very important to those people. So there's many sides of this project that touches a lot of different people. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? All right, then we conclude the public hearing and comments. Commissioners?
Good with it.
All I can say is if we don't do this, we don't get this grant, this isn't going to happen, and that's not an option.
Yeah.
This, I don't know how we're going to redo this plant if we don't get the grant. So it's very important, and
Yeah, we need
I don't
need
know.
to support it any way we can.
yeah,
Yeah.
any way we can. So I will entertain a motion on first reading to,
I will move to approve resolution number 21, resolution authorizing application submission and local match commitment for the Okra grant.
Second.
a motion and a second. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. I will entertain a motion to do the second and third reading by title only if is unanimous.
I'll move to suspend the rules and pass resolution 21 on second and third reading by title only.
Second.
A motion and second on the floor. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Well, then I'll move to pass resolution 21, resolution authorizing application submission and local match commitment for the Okra grant on second and third reading.
Second that.
A motion and a second. Any additional comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Looks like I sign only.
Do you have a copy that you want signed?
Sure.
And when will we know on that grant? Was it?
Around Valentine's Day, the calendar for next year is
Next
now
year?
based
Okay.
on experience around Valentine's.
Just has to be in by December, say December 12th?
December 22nd.
22nd, I'm sorry.
Preliminary engineering. The permits so that they can get them within 18 months of the award. Site control.
Site control activities just being. Doing it already. Okay. Okay.
Mike, do you need any letters of support or anything?
Yeah, Mr. Hartman and Ms. Sleeper, I mean, that was one of the comments they said was they thought everything was looking great as far as our application. They encouraged us to get a couple more letters of support from commissioners and from residents in the area. There's some specific questions I got to answer, and one is, how do you know this is a priority to the residents and to the commissioners? So I think if anybody would be willing to write a letter saying that it's a priority based on some of the things you've heard today, that will help us. We do have a residential survey that'll be sent out on SurveyMonkey that just asks like 5 basic questions. You know, do you live in the area? Have you been impacted? It's real simple, but we'll be sending that out so if people can just click on the link and take it. One of the scoring criteria is, did you do a residential survey? And so by doing that, we get those points, and we need to get as many points as possible. But I do appreciate all the work of the commissioners here, Ms. Sleeper, the sewer district. We've been through a lot of those Ochre meetings, you know, and usually we're still working and trying to get a lot of stuff, but I think everybody heard that we were in pretty good shape of getting documents, and that's because everybody, you know, has been very forthright and getting stuff here in the beginning, so thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
Need
Thank you.
those letters sent to you?
If you can get them to Susan, that'd be great, and she'll make sure I get them.
Okay.
This is due on the 22nd. I told everybody we'd like to submit on like the 15th. We just got a couple of things left, so, you know, if we could get them to her by maybe the 7th or 8th of December, that would help us out.
Okay.
Right, 3 individual ones.
Okay. What else?
I messaged Chris to see if he wants to come over now. He's gonna come by 9:30 anyways, because his stuff isn't gonna take long.
Okay. Well, maybe we can get those both in. Let's go on then to miscellaneous topics. Mike, any miscellaneous?
No.
No. Todd, miscellaneous?
Much.
Andrew?
I don't believe so.
Susan?
Well,
Are you-
I'm still waiting on an answer for the Christmas gifts.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on that answer from IRS to see if we can do that.
Oh, okay.
The state responded, but basically told me I need to talk to the IRS.
Good luck getting an answer from them on anything.
I know. So I have some phone numbers from when we had our federal IRS audit. So I've been working through those to see if I can get something. Yeah. So that's where we're at with that. And here's Chris.
And there's Chris.
Morning, Chris.
Okay.
I do have something real quick, Bill.
Sure.
Do we know who has stuff in the north end of that pole barn at Sunny Meadows?
The north end.
Highway's got the south end.
Yeah, in that separate building.
Yeah. Soil and Water's looking for a place to put their planter out of the weather for the winter, but there's a boat in there that hasn't been permitted since 2001, and a bunch of other junk in there.
That seemed like that boat, I kind of trying to remember, belonged to Don, someone of Don's relation, was that?
Oh, man, I don't know.
Oh, Don Pearson?
Yeah, but
I was gonna see if we could run the permit number, but it's 20 years old, 22 years old, so I don't know if we could even.
let's pull that boat out of there. And
Sat
either,
there over 20
because
years.
nobody's gonna, how would you do that, Andrew, as far as junking that boat?
You mean like
But if it's
abandoned the property?
It's not ours, though. It's
That's not ours.
No,
Okay.
but
But we're
it's
not sure
certainly
whose
been
it
abandoned.
is.
It's been in there forever.
Well, shouldn't we attempt to contact the owner? I mean, we can look up the previous registration at the BMV and
It'd be a
at least
record.
give him the option to come get it.
The only item that he left there is a boat?
There's a boat, there's an old lawnmower in there, I think, that
Couple old
belonged
lawnmowers
to
and-
the,
Is the boat fiberglass or aluminum?
it's fiberglass.
Fiberglass. It's an IO.
Oh, that makes it harder to get rid of
Yeah.
if scrap wise.
Yeah, all the innards are tore out, the seats and everything are piled in
that's
the
junk
corner.
then.
It's pretty much,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the dash is laying in the corner. And
Tougher to get rid of.
I took a picture of the sticker. I'll maybe see if Brady can run it.
okay.
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
And you're sure somebody just left it as not county owned or
No, it just was left there.
Yeah.
by what but we don't know by whom?
Well, I think it was somebody related to either previous administrator or the one before that.
Oh.
And it's just junk, and they've just,
Okay,
I think they just abandoned it, to be honest with you.
right.
So, yeah, let's run that number.
All right.
We can get a
I'll see what-
contact.
I'll
If
see
we
what
can't,
we
I don't know, take it to the salvage yard or something, I guess. I don't know what to do with it, for
Good
sure.
Florida boat.
Yeah, I don't want that thing.
But there's some other odds and ends in there that it could go to scrap. There's an old lawnmower I don't think runs. Yeah. Yeah, we'll work on that. We can do that.
Okay.
And that was for their cedar, is that what
Yeah,
you
the
said?
no-till,
Planter.
Planter.
no-till drill.
Okay.
Okay. Chris, real quick.
Yeah, I think I can be quick.
All right. Yeah, you got a bit of time.
Huh?
You got some time.
Okay. We've got a address ordinance that I think Susan added to your guys' packet from from this week.
Yes.
That was revised in 2020 to, I don't really remember why we revised it other than maybe, adding some additional language, but I'm not really sure. The point of me being here, though, is about, this is, the ordinance itself addresses, for no pun intended, address signs that people put up for their house numbers.
Right.
It doesn't address private road names. And it doesn't address addressing on private roads. We've had an issue arise on a subdivision that has a private road. And these are very nice, just shy of $1 million new homes that are going up. They don't want to see these. They would prefer to use, obviously, the brick or with a nice limestone address on it, a rock with an engraved address number on it or something like that. To the fault of my department, when we have moved from our certificate of occupancy sheets that used to be filled out to a different form, checking to make sure the address signs were posted was left off of that form. I'm not sure how long that's been. I probably don't need to want to know, or it might make me even more mad. So we've not checked these to make sure that people are putting up their address signs. It was brought to my attention that this subdivision does not want to use these, and I showed them the ordinance that it doesn't prohibit them from not using them, but it doesn't say if you're on a private road, you don't need to use them, or if you're on a private road, you need to use them. There's been discussion back and forth as well that we don't even require the road name to be posted for this private road. So if emergency personnel would need to go out to, and I had Jeff go look at three streets on Friday. Copper Ridge Lane is at 27 and 64. It's just a new 6-lot subdivision. San Giovanni Estates and San Giovanni Court is a private road and doesn't have road names. And then Heron Lake, doesn't have road names either. So what I'm getting at really is to ask permission to work with Andrew and revise our ordinance to kind of clean up language as far as when address signs need to be posted. And then also, I think we need to have a requirement that all road names, private or public, need to have a uniform signage, whether that's the Greene County road signs that they could pay, I don't know, Highway Department to make and post for them. But I have also spoke with Brian Humbarger through Central Communications, and he's on board as well that this should be something that needs to get enforced and put in the ordinance. The subdivision that was having kind of the issues with having us require them to use these signs says they're going to put them up, but we need to obviously enforce that through the ordinance, but I think also just tighten up the language a little bit. But then I wanted to get your opinion too on these subdivisions that are out there that would rather use something else, should we have a caveat in the ordinance that we could allow it if it gets approved by Central Communications? I don't believe I'm the right department to approve to make sure that emergency services, USPS, all that can find houses.
I'd like to have some input from EMS and also from the Fire Chiefs Association on that, because they're the ones that have to deal with that.
Yeah, that was my concern, is that if somebody would have something happen.
I can call Denny Treesh and have him bring it up at one of the chiefs' meetings.
Okay, if he
And,
wants to have me out there at a chief's meeting
Yeah.
to explain what
Yeah.
the issue is, I can. I didn't want to spend too much time on revising an ordinance if you guys thought, I don't know why you would think it's great, but I think it should be looked at in, as far as revisions made for continuity in signage, and all that.
A
Yeah,
stature, and I had no problem attaching one of them. I mean, if I'm having a heart attack,
yeah.
I want the EMS to know where I'm at.
Yeah.
And that's,
No sense dying in your posh home because they can't find you.
Well,
you know?
and so the subdivision that, and I'm not going to name them, the subdivision that was wanting to do this, they have mailboxes in their front, so they don't have mailboxes at their driveways.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And so they didn't want to see these.
But they could
But-
they could put one at the end of they don't have to put it on their mailbox. They could put it at their end of their drive, right?
So, right, these
Out
would
of
have to
state.
go at the end of their drive.
Yeah.
Because the mailbox are at the front
Yeah.
road,
I get that.
off of the county road. I get it too, but my concern is that if someone would have a heart attack and the fire department or police department or ambulance can't find them, they're gonna blame you
They
guys.
can opt them out of the fire and EMS service, cut our expenses if that's what they want.
Save our expenses.
They do that in
Yeah.
Tennessee. You got to pay to be part of the fire department down there.
Oh, really?
In certain districts, yeah.
Huh, didn't know that.
well, and
So,
that's,
just
that's
wanted to see
really
what
the
you
crux of the issue. I mean, the first responders are looking for those universally.
Yeah.
And
Right.
to have exceptions, I think,
Okay.
could be a slippery
I agree.
slope.
I agree with you on that. I think the only way you would make an exception is if they looked like this, but were incorporated into the brick pillar or something like that.
That's what I was going to suggest.
It's gotta be the
You
same
allow the
standard.
brick pillar, but that sign's
they
got to
have
be,
that
it
green.
could be embedded into that. You
Yeah.
really wouldn't hardly know the difference.
Yeah, couldn't
Oh,
really
yeah.
notice it.
Yeah, I wouldn't hurt anything.
Okay, okay.
Let me see what we can get set up, and I'll, we've got an EMS advisory board meeting coming up. I'll talk to Brent Steffen on
Okay.
that, too.
I know another subdivision, well, it's not a subdivision, but Indian Lake Drive.
Yeah.
And that drive is marked as Indian Lake Drive, and I think the houses do have the green sign numbers in front of them.
Yeah, and I asked Larry Williams, who's on our BZA too, if he uses these, just because he has that, he lives out on,
Yeah, out on, right.
Woodland Trail.
yeah.
Woodland.
And I wanted to make sure that, I don't believe Woodland Trail's a private road, but it's still a cul-de-sac that goes back to the back, and they do have these, so. But we're gonna have to then do and it would be my office that does it, just so you guys are aware. We would have to go out there though and make sure that we'd have to do a pretty comprehensive check on existing subdivisions and then make sure that they have these up with their road signs. But
Right.
if you guys are okay with it, I'll work on
Yeah.
bringing some language up and probably have a draft to you. It probably will be, I'm not in any hurry for it. It's not an emergency right now, but at least maybe in January or February to bring forward.
Sounds good.
Great.
Yep,
Cool.
go for it.
Thanks, guys.
You bet.
That was
Thank you,
easy.
Chris, coming early.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Becky, you are up. Good morning. Good morning.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll start going through these. You guys were all here last time, right? Anybody new to this team that I have to explain what this is?
No.
I want to make sure. I want to assume everybody knows that we don't. All right, so when we looked at the justice.
Okay, you might want to give a little explanation because we have a new attorney for
You mean
them.
new as in, I guess I
Okay,
spoke
we do
up a
have
little bit.
somebody new to the
Yeah.
table. That's what I want to
Becky, is that mic
Not a
on?
decision maker, but I give advice, so anyway.
And turn
If you
that
want
mic
to
on.
sit down and turn that mic on
Get the green light on that mic. There's a button there in front.
in the middle.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go. All right, so a little bit of background. Drug Free DeKalb is your coalition that works with drug and alcohol issues in the community. And the funds that are collected for drug court, drug and alcohol fees go into the Drug Free Communities Funds. That's by state standard. And by state statute, 25% of that goes to the goes to the state. The remaining 75% remains in the county and is distributed through a granting process that's outlined in statute. That's where we're at. And by statute, 25% of the funds can be utilized for administration, 25% for prevention, 25% for justice, and 25% for treatment. That's kind of where we're at. Okay? When we look at the justice request, we did this year, because last year we had some really large requests that we knew we couldn't fund. So we put some limitations and said we would not look at anything over a $5,000 request. And we had several that were 10,000, and we just can't do that. Then we're like, everything's going to one entity, and that's really not the purpose of what we're trying to get accomplished. So for DeKalb County Corrections, they had a request for $3,000 for drug testing. The recommendation from the committee and then the coalition was to fund $2,500 of that. They also had a request for Change Academy for $1,000 to do drug testing there, and that's with the youth. And because there's a limitation, they don't have a lot of options for any kind of funding for Change Academy. They decided that they would utilize $1,000 of that for that, which was the requested amount. The Auburn PD requested the $5,000 max for undercover drug buys. That is the one that everyone was pretty adamant. We want to fund them as fully as we can possibly fund them. There are extreme limitations on what they can utilize for those drug buys. Because, of course, you can't get a receipt. It just, you just can't. Excuse me, can you write out a receipt for me? No,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way.
Take a
So they did want to fund that fully. We looked at probation, and they had a request for family court for $2,500. Family court is one that, as we've discussed with them, DCS can sometimes help cover some of those costs. So they felt comfortable that they could reduce that amount down to $1,250. Addiction treatment court, they requested $2,500, and they took that to $2,250. I'm trying to get a balance in of where we were at with things. Not that there wasn't a great need, because they could use $5,000 and still blow through it, but that's where we're at. The high-risk incentive program is specifically for individuals that are at a very high risk of reoffending. So they incorporate some incentive pieces to try to keep them on track. These are very small incentives. They amount to like $25 gas cards, but if that helps get them to a job, that helps keep them in line with what they need to do, then that's a great way to do that. And we've funded that in the past. They've went through all of it. And so the total that we ended up with was $12,500 for the justice, which is what we had planned. We had figured out that in order to, like we've talked before, the money that's sitting there is more than 1 year's. So to try to balance that out and not just throw it all out in 1 year, we've kind of said we're limiting the actual amount here. It would be $3,750 for these three categories. So that's how they got to that amount. Any questions on the justice area?
Questions? None.
Then I would ask that you request for an approval of the justice amounts, because you guys have to approve them before I can send the letters out saying, sign off on all the contracts and get you the money.
Do you need each one separately?
Yeah, each category, I think you need to.
Motion to approve the justice total for $12,500.
A motion is second. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Then we're going to look at the prevention category. DeKalb County Community Corrections asked for the Change Academy for some courses with Macmillan Health, which focus on substance abuse. That was a $500 request. And the committee wanted to approve all of that. It's a very small request. That takes the total, I believe, for DeKalb County Community Corrections to 4,000, if you look at their total picture. That was what they recommended for that. Macmillan requested 5,000. The recommendation was for 4,150, noting that they were getting another 500 through what Change Academy had asked for. So they're actually getting a total of 4,650 out of their $5,000 request. The Vape Educate program for $1,300 for DeKalb County Central, the recommendation was to fund that fully. Garrett Kaiser Butler has a combination of things that they were putting together. The Rob Hola High School program, the random drug screens, and the parent education backpacks. When they put all that together, that was a $5,000 request, and the recommendation was to fund that fully. Refuge Community Church, that one was a little bit more of a challenge as we kind of dug through what they were asking for. They had a request in there for $2,400 to go towards community meals, and community meals just doesn't fit. It does not fit anything in this statute, so we can't fund that. There was a little bit ambiguous on some of the other pieces, and so what they pulled out of that was said, we want to fund specifically for their Rise for Youth, which is a 13-week program they want to implement. It's a new piece. So that piece was $1,550. Questions on what the requests and the recommendations are?
No questions? Entertain a motion to approve the justice total, or the, I'm sorry. Prevention total.
I'll make a motion to approve the $12,500 prevention total.
Second.
A motion and second on the floor. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. One more category.
One more category, treatment category. And treatment, the request was almost double of what we have that we're spending. So their total request for treatment was almost $25,000. So that took a lot of conversation to figure out what we needed to do here. What they landed on was Hearten House for $3,000, and that is for drug testing. Serenity House actually has not received any funding through this for the last 2 cycles since they've made any request. Last year's cycle, Steve and I discussed it, and he said he thought they were doing fine, and he didn't think that he wanted to pull money from here if others needed it more. So he did not make a request. So Serenity House is requesting $3,000. Are requesting $5,000. The recommendation is for $3,000, and that again is for recovery materials, treatment assessment, and recovery services. Inspiration Ministries did receive funding last year, and their request was for $5,000. Recommendation is for $1,000. Monarch Foundation was a little bit of a challenge as we discussed it. Last year was the first year that we funded for Monarch Foundation. For those that don't know what they are connected to the courts. Those that are in our problem-solving courts and helping them if they need assistance to get into some of the other programming. So basically what they're doing is support for recovery home services. In their grant, they call it rent, but that's really, the rent pays for the recovery services. We can't fund rent. We can fund support for recovery services. So that's kind of where there's a little bit of a breakdown there. This past grant, they had some difficulty spending out. We granted them funds, and I'm not sure all of the challenges they were having, but they were new, and they were having some challenges trying to get things to work. And they did eventually ask if we could change the funding from a support for recovery home services to support for drug testing for those in drug court, because that was a greater need. So we ended up approving that switch on how they were utilizing those dollars. They were supposed to be at the table to present their recommendations their progress to the council, because every month we have different, if you've got grants from here, you have to come back in and tell us what you're doing, how you're utilizing dollars. And they missed their time, so they ended up not being able to come in until after these were recommendations for the next year. But we did have a good conversation with them, and they still have money sitting there right now, but they think they will expend it out before the end of the year. So that's good. When we talked about this funding for next year, and the recommendation was that they do $1,000, which is not it's not a huge, but there's not a great relationship yet there. To put it, we need to see what they're doing. And at that point, when they had to make a recommendation, there was talk of not funding at all, because we hadn't heard back from them. They had changed what they were doing, what's really happening with money. So the decision was to fund the smaller amount, and let's see where they go, and let's see where they grow, and then we'll go from there. I think that's a good way to approach it. I don't want to cut them out, but we also need to make sure that
Going where it's supposed to
it's
go.
going where,
Sure.
yeah, because technically, if they were really just funding for drug testing for those actually already in court and basically taking it back to it really should have then fallen back in a justice category. And it kind of gets a little tricky and all that. Any questions on Monarch? Because that's probably the one that's the biggest challenge right now. That makes sense? I know some of you guys are connected a little bit with Monarch. So.
Yeah, I'd like that. Maybe we'll have coffee.
And then the last one was Fortify Life, and Fortify Life was new to the table as well. They have been at Coalition a few times this year. And what they were asking for was some drug testing to go along with their housing stuff. And they were asking for $2,392 was for Narcan. And I can get them Narcan for free.
Yeah.
So rather than fund Narcan through here, I talked with them when we met and said, I can help you get hooked up with Overdose Lifeline. Either you can get it direct or you can get it through me. In fact, at 10 o'clock, I'm going to go do a training on Narcan here in town. So it didn't make sense to spend these dollars on something that the state, through Overdose Lifeline, is giving us for free. I'm not.
So that was cut back, basically that amount.
Yes. That basically got them down to about the $2,500, so that we were at $1,250.
Okay.
Would you like to read all the grants? I didn't think you wanted me to make copies of all of it for you.
Oh, let's see.
I was just hoping you'd read them to us.
Oh, sure. Your thing.
Okay, motion.
Motion to approve the treatment total of $12,500 as presented.
And I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Susan, I will get the letters and the contracts that they have to sign. Hopefully, everybody will get it to you before December 4th.
Okay.
That's my goal.
Okay. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
All right. We are about ready to wrap this thing up. I got a couple things, if everybody else is done. The farm rent. Did we notify him of the farm rent expires on December 1st? Mr. Keller?
I have not, although I did see he just called this morning, so I'm not sure.
So I have not. If I can get a phone number, I'm more than happy to talk to him.
Okay. I might have
Do we
that.
have to put that out for bid? Is that what we have to do?
Oh, to put it out for bid?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
We have, that's what we have
Okay.
done.
If we've done that in the past, we should continue that process.
Yeah, we put it out for bid. And,
So do you guys
Is
have
that
any idea?
December 1st that expires? December 1st that expires?
yes,
Ah,
he has to be notified that it's not automatically renewed for next year
oh, okay, all right.
as of December 1st.
We have to give them notice.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Otherwise, he'll get it in another year, although
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's going to outbid him or not. If, it looks like he wants it because he
He likes
has
that.
done tillage, fall tillage out there. So I guess get a hold of him and
Okay.
let him know that he'll have to rebid it.
I'm trying to think if that notice has to be done in writing or not. You might look at the current lease to
Would
see.
assume it would.
Probably would be a good idea to have something come out in writing from the county. Stating, going for rebid, I mean, I could do that.
Those are the ones I sent to you last Monday.
Okay.
I don't know how we did that before.
Contract you're
with it.
talking about, or the lease? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get a notice out to him just saying, you're welcome to, we want you to rebid or whatever, but
Yeah.
this is notice, okay.
And if anybody knows anybody else, I don't know if we have to put that on public notice to bid that, I would assume.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who did that before. I mean, I can write something up, but I'm not sure what format they used or anything.
Either.
Yeah, I don't remember, I mean, I was on board then, but I don't remember what it wrote up.
Doing them as one-year leases or
It was 3 years, I
three-year
believe.
leases? Okay.
Yeah, it was a 3-year. And anything else on that? Okay. I got one more item, and that's the Weights and Measures van. And we talked about a used van, and then we went to Plan B to get a new van. And now we've come to find out we may not be able to get a new van for up to 18 months. So we're back to Plan A used van, and Pat Grattan and I found one up in Hillsdale, Michigan. So Pat Grattan and I drove to Hillsdale, Michigan last Friday to look at this van. And it was $39,000. They sent me back an invoice and it jumped up to $40,000 with the add-ons. So they weren't willing to come down, and it would have did the job. But Todd thinks he can source us one for maybe 36, 37.
I think the market's 36.
Yeah,
I think fair profit, I think that they're asking quite a bit too much, and then the document fees and everything else, and being in Michigan too, it's just a combination
yeah.
of things.
It was
I
low
think we can
mileage.
save $3 or $4 grand really easily.
Yeah. But it was a good deal to go up and look at this
Oh,
van, just
absolutely.
to see exactly what he needs, and he measured the van, and yeah, that model will work. That's the medium height, the long wheelbase, not the long one, but
I'd like to find, if nothing else possible, find a local dealer.
yeah, yeah.
Have to go outside the state. But I think and those are becoming available now. Things are starting to lighten up in
Yeah.
that category, so
Good.
box vans available and stuff. Prices are still up, but
Yeah,
they're getting more availability.
yeah. I think the price when I'm online was about 50.
That van 3 years ago, being 3 years older, let's back it up, would have been,
Yeah. Now they're 40. This one was 40. Yeah. So we're going to pass on it. I didn't, unless he calls me back and says what he'll give me, and I'll tell him 36. And then see if he'll go to, because it would do the job. It had a couple little issues
sale
with
on the
it.
van's 33.5 after buy fees.
Yeah.
Trying to make 4 or 5, 6.
I
Anyway,
think we can do a little better.
never been to Hillsdale before. Interesting trip. Pat's out there on his
Pretty
own.
there.
We don't have much contact with Pat. It gave me a chance to really get to know Pat a little
Yeah.
better. He's a really decent fellow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he does a good job, and we can get him set up in this van. And one more thing, Todd, that truck with that body's got some rust spots on it, some issues.
Yeah.
And they had repainted that. Pat got them to repaint that, but they did not treat those spots.
Is it
And
on the
they've come
bed or
back.
on the cap,
No, it's on the box.
on the box?
Yeah, on the box. So I don't know, is there a body shop that we'd recommend?
There's two I would recommend. Corny's here in Auburn does really good, that type of work. Depending on how perfect you want it. Mike Hartman in Waterloo is the best painter in the state of Indiana, in my opinion. I wanted it perfect, I'd take it to Mike Hartman. If I wanted to just get rid of it, I'd probably, Corny can do good work too, but he'll do cheaper work if you want her to, whereas Hartman has a standard that he does not. He won't do any,
Yeah, and it's a used unit. It doesn't have to be perfect. The main thing is to get the rust.
Why don't I
stop
take a
it.
look at it and see who would be the best?
Yeah.
And we could, but either one of them, Picorni's and there's others, there's other good body shops in town. But I've
Yeah.
had experience with both, and Mike Hartman is the best body shop in the state, period, in my opinion.
Really? So, yeah. let's-
Meticulous.
Do candy apple red.
Yeah, candy apple red.
Okay.
But where is that vehicle? Where can it be seen?
If he's not out with it, it'd be down at the annex, in the
Is that-
garage at the annex.
Okay, I'll get a hold of him to go take a look at it.
Okay.
I'll let you know real quick if
Yeah, it's got some spots on the corners and by the
Are
hinges.
the cab corners resting on it too?
Yeah, no,
They're not?
No.
Is it a Ford?
Chevy,
Okay.
30,000 miles.
What year?
Oh,
16, 17?
15, 16, somewhere in there, I think.
If it was a Ford, it would have been aluminum if it was 15 or newer, but being a Chevy,
Yeah, it's a GM.
steel.
Yeah.
Or I know it's steel, but
Yeah,
we'll take a
it's
look.
steel. But the box, and I don't know whether that was some bad steel or whether they didn't.
When you say
treat
the
it.
box, are you talking the bed box or the topper?
Bed box.
The bed box?
Yeah, it's a
The
big
bed,
unit.
The service
Yeah.
body.
Oh, it's
a-
got a service body
Yeah,
on
it's a
it.
service,
I'm
it's a
sorry.
utility box.
Oh, okay, well, that's a different story.
2016.
This is 16? Okay, that's a different story. So that was added, the service body was added to it.
Yeah.
We're not talking, that can be fixed by either of them, Hartman or,
Yeah.
because you're not going to be cutting cab corners out and.
No.
Yeah.
And nothing's ate through, it just needs.
Oh, okay.
Probably sandblasted.
Either one of them could handle.
Yeah, sandblast it and clean it up. And
Yeah,
then
that's
put
what
a
it needs.
Rust
Little
inhibitor
filler
on it.
where- Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, either one of them would be good. Dealings with both of them, both good people.
okay. Okay, that's all that's on my list. We've covered everything else. Anybody have anything else? Andrew? The public? Anything from the public? Well, we will stand adjourned
All right.
in that